A leading Russian think tank claims the British Meteorological Office's Hadley Centre for Climate Change has been manipulating Russian weather data to suggest rising temperature trends. The Moscow Institute of Economic Analysis alleges the centre used only a quarter of the statistics provided by Russia, teaching data that did not back the theory of global warming. It comes as world leaders gather in Copenhagen to try to salvage a new climate deal. And for more on these allegations, are now joined by RT's Laura Emmett, who's in the Danish capital for us. Well, Laura, hello there. So, are we possibly dealing with another ClimateGate scandal?
Well, I mean, it's certainly possible, and it certainly adds to the original ClimateGate scandal, which I know you remember was the leakage of emails from the University of East Anglia's Climate Research Unit, which sort of showed that data was being manipulated in order to prove this theory of man-made global warming. And the Hadley Centre, about which this report that you just mentioned is about, is linked to the University of East Anglia in that they both use the same database. And so this is really an extension and, if you like, a more damning indictment of the way that temperature data is collected. As you mentioned, only 25%, this report by the Russian Institute of Economic Analysis states, only 25% of data provided by Russian meteorological stations is used in that database, which means that 40% of Russia's territory is not represented at all. And in fact, the data that they seem to have cherry-picked to use is data that does confirm anthropogenic climate change, and the data that they've chosen to leave out is data that doesn't confirm man-made climate change. Also, according to this report, a lot of the data that they have taken is data that refers to urban centres, and we all know that it's much warmer in cities generally than it is in the countryside. And so there are lots of remote meteorological stations in Russia, as I'm sure you know, and we all know that. And the data from those stations just hasn't been used. And as far as the effects of it go, I mean, this whole conference that you see behind me, which is filling up nicely going into the afternoon, is based on the research that comes from this database, which is prepared by the Hadley Centre and the University of East Anglia. So if we extrapolate this over the whole of the world, particularly bearing in mind that Russia covers 10% of the dry land on Earth, then if data is being cherry-picked from all these different countries, then the effect is quite serious on the science behind climate change and what you believe climate change will be like in the next 100 years or so.